Hi Marwan, hope your guys' wedding went really well and you had a good time and everyone else had a good time. And I'm thinking now that you're probably headed off to Europe and Middle East. Hopefully everything's good over there too. Video lesson for today, two things I want to talk about. Go down the list. If you have questions at the end or want me to look at anything or clarify any points, just let me know. So first thing is to kind of build off of what we talked about last time, and this is counting half steps. So there are two musical distances that we just need to know right now. One are half steps, one is half steps, and the other is whole steps. A half step is just one fret on the guitar, or just one letter to the next. So say, for example, right here, A to A sharp is a half step, A sharp to B is a half step, but if you jump over one, so A to B would be a whole step. That's how it works on the guitar. So say, for example, if I play A here on the fifth fret of the sixth string, and I go up one fret, that is a half step. If I go A to B, that's a whole step. I think we talked about that with string bending, but I just want to review that. So if we learn these counting half steps and whole steps and the number of half steps between certain notes, that'll help us to describe musical intervals or the distance between notes in a more precise way, or a more complex way, that is. So say, for example, there are intervals called perfect fourths, perfect fifths, minor thirds, major thirds, and if you know them, you can kind of find them over the fretboard and you actually see how you use those to build chords. But the first thing you got to do to learn how to talk that way or to describe music that way is just counting half steps. So for example, if I said, how many half steps are between A and A sharp, we get one half step, right? So 0, 1 is the way I count it. So I start on the principal one, on the first note, and I count that as 0, and then I hop over to 1. So if I want to go 2 half steps, 0, 1, 2, that gives me B. 3 half steps from A, 0, 1, 2, 3, is 3 half steps away. That C is 3 half steps away. A to C sharp, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 4 half steps away. And that's really kind of how you make chords, how you can build chords, basically. They're constructed out of different intervals. And that's why it's important to know. And you can start anywhere you want on this. You don't have to start on A. So if I said, what's 3 half steps above C? 0, 1, 2, 3, that would give me that D sharp right there. Right. So what I want you to do this week is just quiz yourself, starting on different spots, and going, okay, how many half steps, what's 5 half steps away from C? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? I'll give you F right there. So practice doing that. That way, when you do your arpeggio and you go, wait a minute, what's this perfect fifth all about? We can actually describe, okay, well, perfect fifth is like 6 half steps away. So you can do things like that. And then the second thing I want you to do are intervals. What we're going to eventually be naming these things is like major third, major seventh, minor seventh, things like that. But first thing we need to know is just like, what's the seventh or what's the second? And then, so for this, intervals, so you have, say if we're starting on C, you can start on any note you want, right? Remember last time I showed you how to build a major scale? So what you do is you build a major scale. In this case here, I built the C major scale because whole, half, whole, half, right? I use that to build the C major scale right here. And now that we built that major scale, now it's time to describe it using seconds, thirds, fourths, and fifths. We'll talk about the major, minor, and perfect augmented intervals and diminished intervals later on. But first things first is get your C, right? And C to D is a second. C to E is a third because you're going 0, or okay, so you're 1 is you're doing it here as a unison, so we call that just 1, or prime, or unison. 1. Second, a third above C is E. A fourth above C is F. A fifth above C is G. A sixth above C is A. When I solo, I'm not necessarily thinking of just running up and down scales, because that gets boring after a while. I'm thinking intervallically, or intervals. So if I go, oh, I want that interval of a third is really nice. So when I'm soloing, I'm just not going. So it's good to have sequence patterns to kind of fall back on that, but it's more interesting, I think, have different to have different intervallic distances. That makes it more interesting and gets your ear like, oh, it's leaping around, it's landing on chord tones. It sounds really neat. That's why it's important to know, oh, I'm going to do a couple of sixths and then down to a second. Right? Maybe I do something like that. So what I want you to do this week is take those scales that you've made and see if you can figure out, and like I said, you can start anywhere that you want, any note you want. So if you go, okay, I just did it here starting on C, but say if I want to go, what's a third above D? 1, 2, 3, it's F, right? What's a fourth above D? 1, 2, 3, 4, it's G, right? You can start anywhere you want, and you can do any scale that you want. So you can take the A scale that you did last time, that I had in last lesson. You go, okay, what's a third above the A? It's C, A, B, C sharp, because you figured out in the scale when you construct the whole half, you figure out what the sharps were. So once again, if I go, okay, what's a seventh above C? C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Take those scales that you did, that you've written out, and find different interval combinations. So you can go, okay, A is high. A is if you did the D scale, A is a fifth above D. So work on that for me. Work on your arpeggio training. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them over to me. And if not, I will see you in video next time. Bye.